If you're tired of the standard business and marketing fundamentals, frameworks, and funnels, you need a little mischief. Get ready to turn up the volume on the CEO Mischief Maker podcast, where you access conversations with seasoned business owners who have smashed through mindset barriers, innovated the standard boring business and marketing playbooks, and executed future-paced strategies with bleeding-edge tools and tactics to micro-fail their way into massive success and growth. We are Mindset Impact Strategic Catalysts helping innovative entrepreneurs focus. We are CEO Mischief Makers. Ready to make a little mischief? Hey, welcome back to the conversation, CEO Mischief Makers. You get to hear more of an incredible conversation. We are on a path and an adventure with my incredible guest, Dr. Ellen Wong. And if you have not listened to the first conversation that we had over mindset, you really need to go listen to that because it's going to set us up. First off, welcome back to the conversation, Ellen.
Thank you.
I can't wait because it'll set you up. If you go listen to that conversation, it'll set you up to the framework we're going to talk about next and the innovation of the standard health framework that we all know and might love and might hate. It depends on how you've experienced it. So take me through, you started talking about this framework in health and how it really helps us just basically go from whatever number, let's say, on a spectrum from negative health to positive health or neutral, and we get closer and closer to either neutral or positive. So take me through that framework again a little bit.
So I think if you imagine a line, like you said, like a spectrum, we have, I guess, negative emotions. And again, like we mentioned this in our previous conversation, but we label them as negative emotions, but I wanted to express that I don't really believe that it's negative. Like we feel like we're in a negative space when you're anxious and depressed and you feel overwhelmed and stressed out and like burned out. Like those are negative feelings. However, all feelings and emotions in some way are beneficial because it's a piece of information that's telling us that something needs to change. But for the sake of this conversation, this argument, we'll say that those are negative feelings. And, if you're exposed to whatever type of healthcare, typically, whether it's something you take, whether it's a natural health product or a pharmaceutical pill, or even if you're making sort of dietary changes, what you're really doing is trying to shift from experiencing those negative emotions less intensely and less frequently. So in a doctor's office, if we're talking about anxiety and depression, there's no real lab test that you can use to measure this. They're questionnaires. And so long as you score within a particular range of numbers, you're just sort of considered quote unquote healthy.
Right.
I'm making air quotes right now, but like healthy. However, what it really actually means is you are not experiencing anxiety and depression. That doesn't actually mean that you are healthy. And I think there's a level of sort of distinguishing between those two terms. Like just because you're not experiencing anxiety or depression and you're not overwhelmed or you're not stressed. Well, I don't know who's not stressed, but like, yeah. Okay. Not so stressed and not burnt out. It doesn't actually mean you're healthy because the average person who thinks about being healthy, they don't think about just neutral. They don't think about just like existing. They think about waking up energized, excited for their day, having the ability to do the things that they want to do, feel fulfilled. Like that there's a picture of health that we all have, and it's not a picture of neutral. It's a picture of something way more than that. So how then do we go from that space of feeling neutral and sort of, zero, if we call it, like if I have to put a number on it, to
Yeah.
this positive, radiant, content, peaceful, fulfilling kind of energy, which is what we all picture in our minds.
Right. So that's the setup for the framework. Thank you for that.
Mm,
And we've already kind of touched on the current medical
mhm,
profession and
mhm,
how their goal is really to get to neutral or that zero
mhm,
point, whatever that
mhm,
neutral is, or
mhm.
even to the extent I know lots of people who live with daily pain and daily issues, even if
Yeah,
it just lessens that negative, even if you
yeah,
can't get
yeah,
all the way to neutral, at least
yeah.
the goal is to lessen the negative. But I know, I agree with you. No, that sucks. I don't want
Mhm,
that. I want
mhm,
positive. I want the kind of life you talked about, that
mhm,
it's not neutral. I love that quote. The goal is not just neutral. When we think of
mhm.
health, we don't think of neutral. Um, like a neutral in a stick shift car. For those of you who are too young to have ever driven a manual transmission car, it's in the middle. It's not moving. It's not doing anything. There's no
Yeah,
engagement or there's nothing. It's
yeah,
no engagement. It's just
yep,
static.
yep,
So no, we want to put that puppy in gear and go.
yeah,
And that's positive, right?
yeah.
So how are you innovating that whole health idea
Mhm.
to actually accommodate and help people not just get to neutral, but actually be happy?
Yeah. So, I mean, health is always a part of it for me. And I do think that that's an important piece. And so when I created this 9 pillars of happiness framework, um, the word happiness is an acronym for the 9 things that I think we all need to address in order to feel that sense of happiness and joy that we've been describing. And so I'll walk everybody through that acronym very briefly. The H stands for health. Of course, we've been spending some time chatting about that already. The A stands for authenticity. Like, are you living an authentic life, true to you? The first P stands for purpose, right? Do we have a sense of purpose in our life? The next P is productivity. And this is less about how many hours we're working versus do I feel in control of
Mm,
how I use my time towards the things that matter to me. So that's the second P. The I in happiness stands for inner peace, right? Like, do we feel internally at peace and content? The N stands for nature. The E stands for emotional intelligence or emotional mastery, right? Am I in tune with my emotions? Am I self aware? Am I able to adjust the fluctuations as needed? The first S is social connection. So, am I present and connected to the people that I love and I want to be around? And then the last S is sustainability, which to me is on 2 levels. One, there's a level of global sustainability. Like, I think we need to contribute to something bigger than ourselves um, to feel happy. And then there's a personal level, which is, you know, the things that I'm currently doing, the decisions, my actions, my behaviors, are they sustainable and do I want to keep up with them?
wow. So that first H is health. And are you talking specifically about physical health, mental health, both? What are you referring to?
All of it. To me, it's
Yeah.
there's no separation. There
Yeah.
really isn't. Like
True. Mm-mm.
we we try to, conventional medicine, and I feel bad. We're picking on conventional medicine. I promise you,
Yeah.
I'm not
I get
meaning
it.
to do that. Like, I
Right.
have
Right.
a lot of respect for doctors and the role they play. I just think that where human beings want to be in their potential and flourishing, it cannot that cannot be reduced to a chemical, something that, this one neurotransmitter or one hormone or one receptor in our body. Like,
Mhm. Mhm.
it just can't be reduced to that. Now, on some level, from a health perspective and a medical perspective, we sort of went down this path in the history of
Mhm.
medicine to figure out exactly what it is that causes this one thing and this other thing that like causes this other thing. And we've had to study the human body like that, but it's also beyond that. Like, it's
Yeah.
it's not just about that one chemical. It's about the holistic, like you said, like
Yeah.
it's beyond just one type of health. Like, it's everything, right? Like, it's
Yeah.
it's it's physical health, mental health, it's spiritual health, like
Yeah.
social health. Like, there's
Yeah.
all sorts of things we have to think about when we think about the idea of health. It needs to be more than that if we want to
Yeah.
flourish as human beings.
Absolutely. And especially, I know the people you want to impact are entrepreneurs. So
Mm.
we entrepreneurs are a crazy bunch. And I'm just going to say it, we are. And we can dive down rabbit holes and get consumed and completely push and burn ourselves out.
Mhm.
We don't have to be entrepreneurs just to do that. Anyone, you have a job, you have a family, you have something. My husband,
Totally.
who was a tax accountant, he just recently left that profession. And
Mhm.
every tax season, he would work 7 days a week, 16
Yeah.
at least hours a day.
Mhm.
And not every tax season, but usually every other tax season, he would get some major issue.
Yeah.
And either he would get pneumonia, or he would get some kind of a
Oh,
stomach pain, or
yikes.
really bad psoriasis, or something that would
Yeah.
just crop up. And I knew from being an observer that I'm not going to say it was self-induced, like he purposely gave it to himself, but it was induced by stress. It wasn't
Mhm.
induced by something that happened to him.
Right.
He was
Right.
in that situation, and the stress caused these things.
Mhm.
And he couldn't see that. Obviously, he's in the middle of it. He has to do
Mhm.
tax season. He has no choice in his mind.
Right.
He has to do this in order to get all
Right.
these returns done and blah blah blah. So and the reason I'm going through that story is because when we look at health, mental health impacts our physical health. I mean,
Mhm.
no one can tell me otherwise. I've
Mhm.
seen it. I know
Mhm. Mhm.
our mental health can impose physical disease.
Of course. Yeah.
Um, and vice versa. Physical disease
Mhm.
can then impact our mental health. It's all
Mhm.
connected.
Mhm.
It's like looking at a car and there's a knock in the car and the engine. I'm going to use a car again, knock in the engine, and you're going to look at just this one little place and you're not going to think about any other part of the car.
Right.
So, I mean, no, it doesn't work that way. You got to look at the whole thing. So,
Yep.
thank you for that. And thank you for bringing this whole happiness framework into how, and every single one of those things you talked about are all, again, I believe, within our control.
Mhm. Mhm.
How does that work for entrepreneurs? How has that framework, how have you seen that it's been able to benefit the entrepreneurial world?
I usually I usually say it like this. A lot of people believe entrepreneurs doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you're an entrepreneur or not. I think this society has led us down this path that happiness exists on the other side of some goal or milestone.
Yes.
What we have failed to realize is that happiness, not only is it sort of the ultimate success, happiness is the way to success. Happier people are healthier, they get sick less often, they are more productive in the right sense. They I mean, it's like I sort of could go on and on forever, but like they've actually studied that people who sell things, salespeople, entrepreneurs, um, if you are happier, you have a direct ROI, return on investment on your sales. Like happier
Yeah.
people, like simply said, happier people actually sell more. And so,
Yeah.
as an entrepreneur, obviously, we're not here just to be like, oh, let's sell things left, right, and center. Most entrepreneurs go into this world and they launch their products or their offers or their services because they want to have a positive impact, right? We actually know that happier people have more positive impact, and it's like a ripple effect, right? Happier people are more open, they give back more, they love more freely, they contribute more, they do more good in the world. And like I truly believe that happiness is the most underutilized tool of positive impact in the world. And I want to change that. And I think this framework is going to do that. It's going to
Yeah.
help. It is helping people align with the right things so that when they give, whether it's to themselves, to a loved one, to their clients, to their business, to their family, to like it just this framework helps you align and fuel you physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually from the right place so that you get to have that positive impact on the people around you.
Absolutely. Have you heard of or followed an entrepreneur named Hal Elrod?
Mm-hmm. Tell me.
Hmm. Yes or no? I didn't.
No, tell me. Tell me
No, no.
more.
Okay. Okay. This you need he has a book and a whole process called The Miracle Morning. And I
Mm,
just recently heard an interview that he did with Tom Bellew, I think is his name. Anyway, exactly what you're saying. This man has been through hell and back, in my opinion. He was in a head-on collision with a drunk driver when he was 19, and basically told that first off, his heart stopped for like 6 minutes, so he was dead
ooh,
for like 6 minutes. And they restarted his heart. He was in the hospital. He was in a coma. When he woke up from the coma, the doctor told him he would never walk again. He had
mm,
11 broken bones, and in his pelvis and his femur, and all these things. And his dad came in about a week after he woke up from the coma and basically said, son, the doctors are really worried about you because you're not taking this news like they expect you to take it. You're not like depressed and angry and acting out and all those things. You're actually like happy.
mm,
And he's like, Dad, do you know me at all? He's like, I can't change my current reality. This is the reality.
mm,
I'm in the hospital with broken bones, being told this
yeah.
is what is going to be. I'm going to be the happiest paraplegic in the world if that's the case, because this is my reality. This is
What an
not, I can't
attitude,
change.
eh?
That's it. And so, of course, the doctor said, no, you're never going to walk again. And he's like, hey, I'm going to be the best person I can be right now, whatever my
Mm-hmm.
reality is right now. 2 weeks later, he started learning how to walk again.
Mm.
And I mean, he's had cancer since then. And, again, they gave him a 20 to 30% chance of survival. And
Oh,
he's like,
goodness.
I'm going to be the happiest cancer patient you got. I mean, that whole concept of you control your reaction, the way you look at the world and the things that
Mm-hmm.
happen around you and to you, you have complete control over that. And if you choose happiness, no matter what's happening, of course, we're going to give you grace to be a little bit pissed off. Okay, I
Mm-hmm.
get it.
Mm-hmm.
It's life. But
Mm-hmm.
then, and he basically says the 5-minute rule. Okay, pity party for 5 minutes. Feel
Yeah.
bad. Yeah, I have the right
Yeah.
to feel bad. But then I'm getting back to, hey, this is reality. I'm going to be the happiest person I can be.
Yeah.
If you do that, how can you not have a better ROI?
Mm-hmm.
How can you not?
Mm-hmm.
So is that your experience with the entrepreneurs that have implemented your process? Happiness. I mean, how simple is it? The word
Mm-hmm.
itself
Mm-hmm.
shows you what you can impact in your life. Is there any one particular part of that spectrum or those the parts of that framework? Any particular one that is more difficult for people than any other? Have you found?
This is a really good question. I'll say this is an interesting one. It's the one that entrepreneurs try to master because they think it's the thing that's going to help them excel the most in their business. And yet I've seen it sort of mastered the wrong way. And it's this
Mhm.
idea of productivity. I don't know how many apps, programs, I mean, you name it out there that helps you be more productive. The majority of them push us into this hustle culture again, right? You got to do
Yep.
more so you are more ahead than everyone else around you. And then, 5 years down the road, 10 years down the road, you put in your 80 hours now, 5 years down, you'll be ahead of everyone else and you'll get to enjoy that success and blah, 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 blah. There's a lot of dangers in that
Yeah.
mentality. One, because I mean, in a very sort of dramatic sense, we don't know where we're going to be in 5 years, right? To your point with your story, did that person know they were going to be in a head-on collision? No, they did not. That's one. I think the only possible outcome to hustling that much is burnout.
Yeah.
There is no other possible outcome. Your body, your mind is not meant to be working like that to achieve whatever it is.
Yep.
Lastly, I have yet to find someone who works 80 hours a week and also takes care of their health and builds those social connections, which we actually know can dramatically affect how happy we feel. And so, and because happiness is then tied to being more productive, then I think it's really odd that we go through these like hustle culture beliefs
Yeah.
around productivity. And I like, and this is the funny part is I actually work a lot on productivity with my clients, but not in that sense. I don't believe you need or should work 60, 80 hours a week in order to grow your business, to be successful. I fundamentally actually think it's the wrong angle and belief to take if you think you need to work this hard so you can be ahead of the people around you. It's not a race. You're not supposed to be doing this by comparing yourself to the people around you. So why is the fundamental goal to get ahead of everyone around you? It's the wrong angle. And I don't think that's the one we should take.
Okay, hold on. If your mindset was shifted, you were inspired to innovate, and you were spurred into action, don't just move on with your day. Focus, my friend, and take a few minutes to visit CEOmischiefmaker.com to learn more about the value that was shared with you today. Please act now and create some CEO mischief of your own.